Hi there, and welcome to the third installment of Achieve Wellbeing. I'm Dr. Lisa Kirk Brown, Doctor of Public Health with almost 30 years experience in preventive medicine. I'm a retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and a disabled veteran. Today I'd like to share with you my schematic or model, the pillars to achieve well-being, a state of comfort, health, and happiness. No matter what your physical state, I believe you can accomplish this with this model and the 12-step personal roadmap that I'm also going to introduce to you today. I'd also like to share with you one aspect from the model, physical well-being, the physical aspect of well-being, and the 3 elements that are comprised in that aspect. I'm wearing my yoga clothes because of yoga today. Yoga is extremely important to my physical well-being, and so I thought it appropriate to keep my yoga clothes on for this installment of the blog, since we're talking about physical well-being. I also am wearing my Disabled American Veterans shirt. I'd like to give a shout out to them. The DAV is a veteran service organization that provides services to veterans for free. They try to increase the quality of life of all veterans and give them dignity to live with. They provide all their services to veterans for free. Their financials are vulnerable and publicly known. They help thousands of veterans across the country to recover and become dignified citizens in light of whatever experiences they've had. And I can't say enough about them. If you want more information about the DAV, please go to www.dav.org. If you know a veteran who needs services, or you know someone who might be interested in helping out, please contact them or contact me and I'll be happy to set you up. I'm a service officer myself, and I can't say enough about all that they've done for me personally, as well as people that I've assisted throughout the years. So thank you to the DAV. Some of you may be wondering what a doctor of public health is. I get that question quite often, and I certainly understand there's an interest in what exactly a doctor of public health does. I went to medical school. I graduated from the School of Medicine at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences, or USUS. USUS is in Bethesda, Maryland, and their mission is to care for those in harm's way. So people who are in the military services are trained there and provide medical interventions for military members. The public health service doctors are also trained there, and lots of research on military populations is done there. My background, doctors of public health are specialists in preventive medicine, population medicine. The purpose of public health is to promote health, prevent disease and injury, as well as prolong life. And so my recommendations have all been on a macro scale to populations so that they can prevent disease and injury, promote health, promote health and prolong life. So there's a lot of very specific things to the military that I've studied in my career, such as dioxin hazards and chemical agents and other things that military members can be exposed to, and how to prevent them from getting sick if they're exposed to these things. So today, as I said, I would really like to talk to you about the model that I've developed to achieve well-being. First, I'm going to share with you some pictures. If you'd like copies of these for your records, you can always email me at drbrown.disabledveteran@gmail.com. It's all together. And from last installment of the Achieve Wellbeing, the self-assessment tool that I used, I read through all the questions. If you'd like a hard copy of that for your records and to follow along with the installments of Achieve Wellbeing, please email me at that same address and I'll be happy to send that to you so you can have it and maybe take it over again and see where you fall. So let's get started. First, what I want to share with you is what I call the pillars to achieve well-being. So what I've done is taken what I think are the foundational aspects of well-being and put them in a model that looks like a house. So as you can see on the bottom, we have genetics, education, family, and community. So those are things that happen to you where you're born. If you were born in America, you have a certain community, a family, you have a certain education. Everyone in America gets to go to high school for 12 years. And you have some genetics. Above that, you have some decisions that you make. These are foundational to what happens to your well-being. I've developed these pipes, these pillars, that are some things that you choose and some things that are chosen for you. So your environment is a pillar to how well you prevent disease and disability. Your occupation is a pillar. Your personal lifestyle is a pillar. And your relationships are a pillar. I'm going to go next through which of these you can control and which of these you cannot control. And that's very important to differentiate because, as you know, you can't really change your genetics. You can do some genetic testing to see if you're more susceptible to things, but you really can't change genetically how you're created. And then finally, all of these things filter up to the pinnacle, which is your well-being. And if one of these things is out of whack or not in alignment with perfect well-being, you obviously don't have the level of well-being that you can achieve. So what of these can you control and which of these can't you control? That's pretty important because I don't personally think it's worth too much of my time to worry about things I can't control. So let's make it pretty simple. First, you cannot control your genetics, as we already talked about. Maybe someday, but right now, you pretty much are going to have the genes that you have. You really can't control your environment or your occupation very much. A lot of people choose their occupation at a very young age. It comes with certain risks and certain benefits, and we really can't do too much to modify that unless we're very fortunate and can maybe go back to school or be retrained by some other entity. But often the occupation we pick at a very young age is what we end up with at the end of our life. And so we have to manage that. We can't really change it. We can't really control it. So I'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. All right, there's a gray area. So you cannot control those things, but there's some things you can control. And I think there's a gray area in between. I would say that family, community, and relationships are kind of a gray area. In Achieve Wellbeing, I'm going to talk at great detail in several of the installments about what you can do to achieve well-being within your family, within your community, within your relationships. Those segments are going to be in the spiritual aspects of well-being and in the spiritual aspect of well-being. And we'll go into a lot of detail on what you can do and what you can't do. All right, finally, what you can control are your decisions, your education, and your personal lifestyle. And so in all of the elements of the 12 steps, in all of the 12 elements, I'm going to give you tools to decide, to educate, and to change your personal lifestyle. And I think in the end, I'm going to help you to achieve well-being through modifying your own personal choices and empowering you to be able to make better choices, giving you the tools that you need to be able to actually discipline yourself to accomplish some of these things. And I know that's a pretty big promise, but I do believe if you follow these 12 steps and you research the ones that you are a little less solid with, you will come to a place where you can actually achieve well-being, or the best well-being for yourself in those elements. Okay, so now I'd like to introduce to you the Achieve Wellbeing Personal Roadmap. This was developed through some thought over the past decade, I guess, starting with Aristotle, a philosopher who was pretty active about 2,300 years ago. He came up with a model that was called ethos, or what makes a man. And of course, it was a very male-dominated time, but he really meant mankind, as in men and women, and human, basically. He believed that what makes us human, what his ethics were, is that humans had to have, they were physical, they had mental capacity, they had social needs, and they had emotional needs. And so he believed those four things made a man, different than an animal, different than a fish, different than an object, a stationary object. And they had great discussions about this. What I think for my model, it's very similar to what Aristotle said. I've given it some thought, but I can't really act or find medical research in light of those. So what I've done is divide my model into 4 aspects, which are very similar. So the Achieve Wellbeing Personal Roadmap is divided into 4 aspects. The physical aspect of well-being, the mental aspect of well-being, the spiritual aspect of well-being, and the personality aspect of well-being. And why I chose personality over social or emotional is, I think when you look at our personalities, that's where you can actually influence your health. And so I'm going to go into more detail on that as we go to those installments and as we discuss those elements. But for now, just trust me that I think you can control these things better the way I've broken it down. All right, so what are the 12 steps, the 12 elements to achieve well-being? I'm going to show you another roadmap. This is the Achieve Wellbeing Roadmap I developed. And as you can see, it's broken down by the core being well-being into physical, mental, spiritual, and personality. The 3 aspects of physical well-being, the 3 elements are activity and rest, nutrition, and medicine. Those are the 3 elements that we're going to talk over the next few installments. Then we're going to move to mental. So we're going to talk about education, exploration, creativity, and passion. Then we're going to move to spiritual well-being, the spiritual aspects of well-being. We're going to talk about relationships and emotions, mindfulness, and nature. And then we're going to move to the personality aspects of well-being. We're going to talk about self-awareness, self-discipline, and boundaries. So here's the Achieve Wellbeing Personal Roadmap. You may recognize this from the personal self-assessment you took, and we're going to go into great detail on these 12 elements of well-being. So what did Aristotle say about physical well-being, you may be asking? He said that as physical beings, we require nourishment, exercise, rest, and all the other things that it takes to keep our bodies functioning properly. What I'd like to share with you is an analogy. So you all probably have a car, or have had a car or some type of motor vehicle in your life. To keep that functioning properly, you have to do certain things. You have to check it up, you have to put gas in it, you have to make sure the brakes are working, you have to do regular maintenance, you have to replace things, you have to test it periodically. It gets old and things break down, and sometimes it gets to the point where it can't go anymore. And so our physical bodies are very similar to a machine. That's the difference. The difference of what makes us a man are those other three categories. The machine is kind of like the physical aspects of our well-being. So think about your car and think about the things that you need to do for your car to keep it going, or anything that you have that you want to take care of. Our bodies are pretty practical that way. We need a certain amount of calories each day. We need a certain amount of sleep each day. We need a certain amount of alternative or regular medicine to manage certain things if we have certain things that we need to manage. And I'm going to go into great detail on these areas. So the first topic we're going to discuss in the next installment is activity and rest. We're going to go into great detail what the medical research says about activity and rest. All of the recommendations I'm going to give to you are evidence-based medical recommendations. I'm not going to give you things that aren't cited in medical literature, and I'm not going to provide for you information that I don't think is sound medically. So there's lots of information out there about supplements and different types of alternative medicines, and I don't believe that anything is worth trying to make us well unless it's been researched with the scientific medical structure of research. So everything I'm going to share with you in the installments of this blog are going to be founded in medical research and science. That said, I'm also going to talk to you about some of the complementary things and alternative things that are out there. NIH has recently developed the Institute for Complementary and Alternative Medicine, and I want to talk about some of those things. There's some real exciting things happening in that realm, and I want to share those with you, of course. But I'm a scientist and a doctor of public health, and so I really want to stick to the things that are medically accurate and proven in medical research. So first we're going to talk about activity and rest, and I'm going to share with you what some of the new studies are and what some of the new recommendations are, what some of the new research has shown, and I'm going to give you my personal thoughts on how much activity and rest you need. Then we're going to talk about nutrition and supplements, and I'm going to give you my thoughts about nutrition, I'm going to give you my thoughts about supplements, and I'm going to give you what the medical research says about both, what I think are the best recommendations to follow. And then finally, the last element of the physical aspects of well-being are medicine and complementary medicine. And I'm going to share with you what I think about modern medicine and about complementary medicine. What I want to highlight, even though I think the physical aspects of well-being are the most important to our well-being, medicine and complementary medicine are only 1/12 of this entire roadmap. So put that in perspective, it's about 10%. So we don't want to put too much emphasis on going to the doctor and what the doctor says. We want to do what the doctor says, we want to know what the medicine teaches, but I want you to remember that it's only roughly 10% of the whole. So for holistic well-being, it's only about a 10% slice of the whole pie. And I can't say that enough. I personally am compliant with my doctor. I take the medicines they tell me to take. I research them, and I make sure that I'm doing what he recommends me to do, he or she. But I don't put too much emphasis on what the doctor. I make sure that I'm balanced in the other 11 elements as much as I possibly can be. All right, so thank you so much for watching this installment of Achieve Wellbeing. I really look forward to sharing with you more detail on the physical aspects of well-being and then delving into the other aspects of well-being. I hope that what I've provided to you today is understandable and comprehensive enough. If you have questions or concerns, I would love for you to contact me at drbrown@gmail.com. And again, please write me if you want a copy of the self-assessment. Please write me if you want a copy of the Pillars to Achieve Wellbeing or the Personal Roadmap to Achieve Wellbeing. I think that if you have it, you can take some time to digest it and meditate on it and think about it, and maybe even look at which of those areas you know you're doing well at and those areas you know you're not doing so well at, and then we can actually start engaging in more conversation around some of those aspects and elements. All right, so in 2 weeks, we will have the 4th installment of Achieve Wellbeing on activity and rest. And I really look forward to seeing all of you on that installment. Thank you again. Bye.